All right, today we're digging into something truly incredible, the brain's escape superhighway.
Okay, so picture this. Danger strikes. Out of nowhere, you've got milliseconds, literally milliseconds to make a move. How in the world does your brain, without even thinking, instantly know the fastest way to get to safety, especially when you can't even see where you're going?
All right, let's get into it. To really understand how this works, we've got to first wrap our heads around what scientists call the escape problem.
So here's the thing. When an animal, like a mouse, runs from a predator, it's not just scrambling away randomly. No, it's running towards a specific safe spot it already knows about. And this is the crazy part. It can do this even if it can't see the shelter. It's tapping into this kind of preloaded mental map, a memory-guided instinct that is just lightning fast and unbelievably precise.
Okay, so if the brain's got this built-in GPS, you gotta ask, what parts are actually running the show? Well, scientists have zeroed in on two main suspects in this whole neural mystery.
First up, you've got the retrosplenial cortex, or RSP for short. Just think of this as the brain's map room. It's the part that knows the layout of the land. It has the blueprint. It knows exactly where the shelter is. Then, you've got the superior colliculus, the SC. This is the action center. Its job is to screen the commands to move the body, turn, run, go. So you see the problem, right? The map room knows the location. The action center pulls the trigger. The big question is, how do they communicate so ridiculously fast?
So this is the secret sauce. How does that map turn into an action? Well, the brain is smart. It uses something called egocentric coordinates, which sounds complicated, but it's actually super simple. Instead of a big, complex map with, north, south, east, west, the brain boils it all down. It calculates the shelter's location based on one thing, which way your head is pointing right now. So it's not thinking the shelter is at coordinate XY. It's thinking shelter is 45 degrees to the left, go. It's a direct, no-nonsense command.
And you might be wondering, how do they know this for sure? Well, scientists actually found the proof by watching the brain activity of mice in real time. They found these super specific neurons in both the map room and the action center that would light up based on which direction the shelter was. And to really nail it down, they did something clever. They moved the shelter 90 degrees. And what happened? The firing patterns of those neurons rotated by exactly 90 degrees to match. It was like clockwork. There was no doubt about it. These neurons were locked on target.
Okay, so we know both parts are involved. But that's not the whole story. We need the smoking gun, right? We need to prove that it's the connection between them that's the real magic here. And to do that, they had to run a pretty ingenious experiment. So that leads to the million-dollar question, right? What happens if you cut that hotline? What if you stop the map room from talking to the action center right when it matters most, during an escape?
And believe it or not, that's exactly what they did. Using this really advanced technique, they were able to temporarily just turn off the connection. Not the whole map room, not the whole action center, just the single pathway, the phone line, running from the RSP to the SC. And the results? Whoa. They were absolutely staggering. With that one connection offline, the mice were suddenly 7.4 times more likely to end their escape run, completely missing the shelter. I mean, they still knew they had to run, but their aim, their sense of direction was just gone. And when you look at the raw data, it gets even more dramatic. Check this out. The normal mice were off by maybe 5 degrees on average. I mean, that's incredibly accurate. But the mice with the pathway turned off, their error shot up to 23 degrees. They were totally disoriented. And what does that mean in the real world? It took them 50% longer to get to safety. When a predator's on your tail 50% longer, that's an eternity.
Okay, so the connection is obviously critical. We've established that. But how? How does it work so fast and so perfectly? Now we get to dig into the actual mechanism, the nuts and bolts of this amazing circuit.
It's all thanks to this incredibly elegant process, and stick with me here, called feedforward lateral inhibition. It sounds technical, but it breaks down into 4 really simple steps. Step 1, the map room, the RSP, sends a kind of broad signal to the action center. Think of it like, hey, the shelter's generally over there. But generally isn't going to cut it when you're running for your life, right? So step 2, that same signal also activates a bunch of silencer neurons in the action center. Step 3, these silencers immediately shut down all the neurons that are pointing in the wrong direction. They just silence the noise. And that leaves us with step 4. The only neuron left standing, the only one that can fire, is the one pointing perfectly at the shelter. And that creates one single, crystal clear go command. It's beautiful.
All right, so we've got this dedicated super fast circuit, but that leads to one last really fascinating question about what it's really for. I mean, is this how the brain navigates all the time?
And yeah, the researchers were wondering the exact same thing. Is this escape superhighway a general-purpose tool for getting from point A to point B, or is it, something special?
Well, they found the answer by giving the mice a totally different job, just casually finding some food. And you can see the difference right away. The escape is a dead straight high-speed run. The food-finding mission, it's slower, more meandering. So they ran the experiment again, turned off the circuit during this casual stroll for a snack. And the result? Nothing. It had zero effect. And that was the final piece of the puzzle. This circuit isn't for just any old navigation. It's a highly specialized superhighway built for one purpose and one purpose only, getting you to safety, now.
And this quote from the scientists who did the study really just nails it. They said that this circuit could potentially decrease the time to execute the accurate action, which in the case of escaping from imminent threat is of great survival value. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? Evolution built a dedicated hotline for survival, because when your life is on the line, every single millisecond counts.
And that leaves us with this one kind of mind-blowing thought to end on. Our brains are just full of these ancient hardwired circuits, built over millions of years of pure survival. So, if there's a superhighway for escaping danger, what other instincts are running on their own hidden freeways? Things like finding a partner, protecting your kids, that gut feeling of danger. What other parts of our behavior are being driven by these secret networks that we're only just starting to map out?